So, what if I told you meditation wasn't just, a mental exercise, but an actual physical operation? That's what we're digging into today. We're exploring this really radical new idea, mapping meditation directly to the fundamental laws of what's called informational physics.
When most of us think about meditation, we think about finding calm, right? Quieting the mind. It's this super personal, internal experience.
But what if that's only half the story? There's a new theory out there that says meditation is way more than just a state of mind. It's proposing that it's a physical, measurable process, an operation that's actually governed by the laws of information itself. Pretty wild, right?
And this whole framework, it was developed by Kevin L. Brown. He's an independent researcher, an inventor, and an author. So let's dive in and break down the core ideas of what he's put together.
All right, here's the game plan for today. We'll start with meditation as a physical reality. Then we'll get into what informational physics even is. After that, we'll look at this universal circuit map, see how it can be measured, and wrap up by asking if this is a whole new way of looking at science.
Okay, first up, meditation's physical reality. This is really about shifting our perspective, from seeing it as just a mental thing to a physical operation.
So here's the big shift. The traditional view, it's all about subjective feelings, right? Calm, clarity, bliss. But the informational physics view, it flips the script. It says the goal is actually to reduce disorder, or what scientists call entropy. It's about creating measurable states like coherence and stability. The idea is your mind gets quiet because the physical system underneath it all is getting more orderly. It's a cause and effect thing.
And this whole idea hinges on one key concept, informational entropy. The easiest way to think about it is like static on a radio. It's just a measure of disorder or randomness. So this theory basically says meditation techniques are like tools designed to tune that channel, get rid of the static, and make the signal inside our own body crystal clear.
So if meditation is all about reducing this disorder, what language do we even use to describe that? Well, that's where informational physics comes in. It's a new way to talk about a very old practice.
So what exactly is informational physics, or IP for short? Well, at its heart, it's this mind-bending idea that the universe basically uses the same playbook for, everything. It's saying that a single set of rules, based on geometry and circuits, shows up everywhere, from the tiniest atoms to giant galaxies, from our own biology to computer code.
The really cool insight here is that these patterns just repeat. IP suggests that the exact same fundamental circuit can show up in totally different ways. It could be a physical, geometric shape, a biological posture you hold, a computer algorithm, or even the way a crowd behaves. It's like one blueprint for a whole bunch of different things.
Okay, now we're getting to the really good stuff, the universal circuit map. This is where we see how these ancient meditation techniques get translated, one-to-one, into the language of modern physics.
All right. Let's start with something simple, breathwork. That in, hold, out pattern is not just for chilling out. In this model, it's acting like what physicists call a harmonic oscillator. It's just a fancy term for anything that creates a stable, repeating wave, kind of like a pendulum swinging back and forth. It basically sets the beat for your whole system.
And what about your body posture? A traditional seated pose? According to this theory, it's way more than just symbolic. It's a functional, large-scale circuit. It's literally organizing your body's entire bioelectric field into a stable, coherent shape.
And that same idea scales all the way down. Those specific hand positions, or mudras, they're seen as little microcircuits. Every time you connect your fingers in a specific way, you're creating a unique little electrical loop.
And then there's mantra, the repetition of a sound or word. Again, not random. In this framework, it's basically an acoustic loop that reinforces a specific vibration. You could almost think of it like a computer program, a simple algorithm that you're running over and over again to stabilize everything.
Okay, this all sounds pretty fascinating, right? But can you prove it? Can you test it? That's the million-dollar question, and it brings us to our next section, how this stuff can actually be measured.
See, if meditation is a real physical process, then it can't just be about how you feel. We should be able to measure it with instruments. And the I2 framework gives us 3 key things to look for. Let's check them out. First up, there's the signal. Easiest way to think of this is like the volume knob on your stereo. How strong is the circuit? How loud is it? A stronger signal just means you've got a more powerful, clear pattern going on. Next up is coherence. This is all about how clean that signal is. Is it a pure tone or is it full of static and noise? The more coherent it is, the more organized your system is. And remember, more organization means less of that messy informational entropy.
And number 3 is stability. This is all about toughness or resilience. Once you've found that clear, coherent signal, how well can you hang on to it? Can a stray thought or a loud noise knock you off course? Stability measures how well you can resist that kind of disruption.
And this is where it all gets real. This isn't just theory. It leads to predictions you can actually test in a lab. For example, the model says a hand mudra should literally increase the electrical capacitance between your fingers, something you can measure. It says breathing at 6 breaths a minute should increase the coherence of your heart rate. See? These aren't just vague ideas. They are real, testable hypotheses.
So what does all this add up to? Let's zoom out for a second and look at the big picture. I mean, could this be the start of a totally new scientific paradigm?
You know, for years, science has told us that meditation is correlated with good things, like less stress, but that doesn't tell us why. This framework, its whole goal is to move past that. It wants to build a model that can actually predict and explain the physical reasons these ancient practices work, using the language of physics itself.
What this really does is challenge that thick wall we've built between our inner world, our thoughts and feelings, and the outer world of physics. It leaves us with this one huge, mind-blowing question. Could our inner states actually be written in the very same universal language that describes the stars?